All right, welcome everybody to the comic panel. I'm Cody,
I'm Jacob.
And I'm Shawenta.
and today we are covering Pixels of You, written by Ananth Hirsh and Yuko Oda, illustrated by J.R. Doyle, coloring and lettering by Tess Stone, and flats by Fen Garza. All right, so, Shawenta, you chose this book. Would you like to give us a little bit of an intro to it and why you picked it?
I like the pretty pictures. I saw it was coming on, it was being released, so I ordered a pre-order. I was like, the art's interesting enough, like even if I don't end up liking the story. But it's been sitting in my bookshelf since then. I went, yeah, maybe I should read it. And then, I made us read the other comic by Yuko and
Oh yeah,
Ananth.
Barbarous, right?
Yeah, on their website. So we read some of their earlier stuff, I guess we could say, because
Mm-hmm.
I think that stuff's before this one for sure. That work was, obviously a collaboration in writing, but Yuko was the one who illustrated it. So it's interesting to see this written by the couple and then illustrated by someone else.
Yeah. Yeah, I found that interesting too. So this book, how would you describe it, like genre-wise, I guess?
Probably slice of life, right? Like it's literally about the setting and sort of about the relationship between the two
Yeah, I guess.
main characters.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah, it is technically a romance story, but yeah, I don't know.
I
Maybe you could tell I have some feelings about that.
I'm gonna say I'm at fault for like causing the preconceived notion, Jake, because I did say when we were discussing that we were gonna read this book, I was like, oh yeah, it's a romance between two like robots. Like that's what I knew about it, and that is not what it's about actually.
Which is fair, but it's not just you. I did do some, research about this, and it is tagged on most sites as like a romance book. So it's not just you who said that.
But also just the fact that like I was like, yeah, they're two robots, right? I think,
Yeah.
and they're not
Well,
at all.
one of them is a robot. The other is at least part robot.
Yeah. Cyborg robot.
She has like, she has a robot eye. That's like
Yeah.
it,
Yeah, one robot eye that you can't even tell unless she told you that it was a
and it
robot
just
eye.
like hurts. Okay,
But it hurts.
we're getting into it. Yeah. So I guess I'll summarize it more, cause like I read it, and then I read the back, and I was like, oh, that's what I was supposed to get from this, which is different.
Oh, that's
Um,
always good when the back of the book has to tell you what the book is about after you've read it. That's good.
I mean, I already knew it was supposed to be a romance. That's like all I knew. And then I kept going, so when are they going to reveal that she's also a robot? Okay, so the main character, what is her name?
It is.
Oh, we were
Is
just
Indira,
talking.
I guess.
Yeah.
Indria, yeah.
Indria, yeah.
Yeah, Indria, she's a photographer. And she's having trouble with her eye. She takes painkillers constantly because of her robotic eye, I guess. She says it's a
I think the
fake
term
eye.
is prosthetic, but sure, robotic.
I mean, that's the thing. She's like augmented, is what they try to say, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then she's not even the one who takes pictures with her eye.
Yeah, that's.
It's like a
I don't
little.
think it does anything different than like a normal human eye does.
Yeah.
It bleeds a lot. Tears.
Yeah, it does do that.
Okay, so she's a photographer, and she's struggling with her eye, and she meets at her current gallery internship, unpaid, which is always great.
Yeah.
She meets another photographer and is sort of forced to work with this other girl. Of course, they have that meeting where the other girl, Fawn, immediately is just like insulting this gallery opening that they're at, only to find out this is Indria's gallery opening and her show.
I'd feel like okay, even if that wasn't Indra that you were talking to, as an artist and you're at this other artist's exhibition,
This sucks. I hate this.
you shouldn't just trash the whole exhibition.
Okay, but like she claims that it gave her very strong emotions because it was photographing, robot subjects like in a very objectifying way she felt in some ways. She's like, it's like it was made about me, but not for me.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I guess
Yeah.
that is a fair complaint, but that's not what she says. What she says is, "This sucks. I hate this."
no, she literally says that other line, but she does also say, this sucks, I hate this. I'm not looking forward to sharing the floor with this person at the end of the year. What does this have to do with the theme? It seems objectifying. It frustrates me too. It's like it's about me, but it's not for me. And then she's like, do you like it, other person who walked up to me? And the other person's like, I'm gonna leave.
Yeah.
And then Fawn immediately finds out that that was her show that she was insulting. That's why you don't insult a show to random people.
Yeah.
Just do it with your friends.
Yeah, when you're far, far away in private.
But no, she's a young artist. She doesn't, I guess, Indria has feelings about her work too. So Indria feels that her work is like the opposite. It's too safe, kind of.
Like, I feel like that's more, well, I guess, it's because one of them is like a fake robot that is just written as a person. But like Indira's criticism, I feel like has more weight because it's like,
It's literally flowers.
it's just flowers.
What does this have to do with the theme of the unknown?
Mm-hmm.
Like, we know a lot about flowers.
Well, what is this new groundbreaking pictures of flowers saying about flowers? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Okay, actually, part of me is like, I want to defend it, but I'm also like, that's not actually relevant to the story.
I mean, I'm not trying to pass too much judgment on them, but this is how it's presented. It's
Yeah.
supposed to be her pictures are too safe.
Mm-hmm.
She's too much of a she's what is it? It's not spoiled, but she's like
Sheltered, kind of?
yeah, she's kept insulated from the world. So, it's not really.
Yeah.
So they kind of fight in front of the customers, and that's when the gallery owner forces them to, instead of having separate shows, instead of having shows next to each other, but within the same gallery, they pretty much have to work together on the show, collaborating on a joint exhibit.
Yeah, which, like, I guess, I don't know if that's, I mean, it is like her exhibition. I think her name is Paloma.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like, she gets to decide that kind of stuff, but I feel like it's just like sort of weird, especially for just an unpaid internship, where it's like, oh, you guys have to work together.
Well, the whole thing was they were originally going to get their own part of the show, right? So they'd show off their pictures.
Yeah, they were
over
going to
here.
be like separate exhibitions, but like, shown together in like the
So
same
they're not
same
forced
space.
to.
And now it's just one bigger exhibition, I guess.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's pretty much the same exhibition, just they have to work together on it, which, like, they could probably just walk away from, like you're saying, it's an unpaid internship. But also, that just shows cowardice. I will say, who the heck has, like, they say, like, a few months or something to do this exhibition? You usually apply to get a show, like, a year in advance at least. That's like the latest you can do. You have to be a year in advance because it's always so booked up.
Mm-hmm.
So like for them to be like, just go take the pictures, blow them up, put them on a page, like, cool.
I will say that is a convenience that I kind of let skate because I don't know anything about showing art in a gallery. I'm just going to assume that whatever they say in this book is right. I'm going to take that on their word.
Yeah. Me too.
It's like just asking for a poor show, right? Just go do it. Also work together with this person you hate, apparently.
Yeah.
Gonna do your best work now. Yeah.
I guess.
Fawn and Indria have to work together, and we've met Fawn's parents, who are more robotic looking, and they talk about how they saved up to have this more human-like body for Fawn, because she looks pretty much like a person. I think her joints are a little different, like you can see.
Yeah, it's a little bit more like if it were just the bone, like a ball and socket joint.
Oh yeah, like a ball jointed doll. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so they're trying to work together. And I think they work together on like a freelance job where they're picking out stuff for, well, Indria's freelance job. She has Fawn tag along to help her scout a good place to take pictures of the fashion models.
Mm.
That's the thing. It's like things just kind of
like,
happen.
After they say, yeah, work on the exhibit together, that's just like, I guess the framing for the rest of the story is like, okay, we'll do location scouting. We'll talk to each other to try to figure out what like our subject is going to be. And then like the next like event is almost the end of the book where like they get tickets to go to somebody else's art exhibition.
Mm-hmm.
We meet, well, Indira gets to meet Fawn's mom.
Mm-hmm.
We get to talk about plants for a little bit. And then they're in the cab going home where they talk about AI driving for a second. Wonder if that's going to be important. And then it turns out Indira's back in the hospital
Mm-hmm.
because of, I don't know exactly what happened. Because, like, her eye's been bothering her. And we kind of see, like, she calls the doctor's office and tries to get an appointment pushed up.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, I guess she just has an extra bad dream and checks herself into the hospital.
Well,
I don't.
Yeah.
She was saying that, she has to go through this so often where the doctors will just change and they want every time she gets a new doctor because the network changes, they put her on new medicine. And so I guess this one's just been particularly bad. And so she's been trying to see the doctor, but of course it gets delayed because doctor appointments.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I think that, like, she also, like, complains of, like, having, like, really intense migraine or something, too. So I think the dream just coincides with an immense amount of pain. So she checks in for urgent care.
Yeah, then Fawn goes to see her, and then we get, like, Indira's traumatic backstory where her parents died in a car crash because an AI driver detected there was going to be a collision, made some calculation, and then like lawyers came in and got involved and tried to make it this whole big thing, but ultimately, had to bow out, just take the settlement. And I guess it's sort of implied that she just didn't like AI after that, but that's not really shown by any of Indira's like actions or the words she says.
Mm.
I don't know if I got the same thing about her not liking AI since then.
I mean, I'd say that it felt like she was distrustful of it. But, like, I mean, it's kind of part of the theme, like, that, because I think that Fawn says something to her about, like, I don't know if she uses the word distrust or being, like, afraid of the unknown, but, like, she puts AI at the center of her unknown exhibition, and then they have some sort of conversation about what they, like, their reactions to what they don't understand. So I felt like that was part of the kind of underlying theme of, like, she doesn't trust AI because of, past experience, but she also doesn't understand it very well either.
How unknown. But yeah, pretty much it's not a ton of major events like you were saying.
Mm-hmm.
And then like they were taking pictures of the sky, right? They were trying to take pictures of the sky through the light haze to get like pictures of space because that's the unknown. And then they admit that that's kind of cliche, and they end up, I think, Fawn through her, like, since she takes pictures with her eyes, she ends up taking pictures very close up and personal of Indria while she's having, while she's telling her something personal, I guess, I would say.
Yeah, it's that. I think it's like in the karaoke booth,
Yeah.
like when he's talking about having to go back to school after the accident, and then talking about her, oh, what's it called? Like chronic pain
Yeah.
that she experienced after. Which I guess, like, I didn't get that the first time through, where it's like that was what the exhibition was of her, which is like, it seems like a big thing to miss, considering like this is a book kind of about, but like that's what the characters care about is photography and their exhibitions. But maybe I just wasn't paying attention.
It's a robotic guy.
Yeah.
Zoom in. Yeah, well, the fact that, like, I thought this was going to be a surprise to Indria, and she's going to be like, it's all about me? But it comes out, she was also the one who edited the photos, so it's like, okay.
Yeah, so I guess she knew about that.
So we all knew, except for the audience. Yeah, I do like, I like Fawn bringing her parents to the place. Mom seemed a little disturbed, her robot mom, like, getting to see close-up photos of a human with a robot eye, I guess.
Mm.
And then Dad making awkward jokes. And then they kiss.
And then they kiss.
That is really it. That is then they kiss.
And then it's the end of the book.
And literally, no, that's like the last panel, right?
Yeah.
They kiss, and that's it.
Well, there's the cactus that's like flowering, which I guess is like Indira coming out of her shell and like blossoming, I guess.
Yeah. Or
But that's giving this book a lot of credit.
Okay. So that is the summary, though. Like,
Yeah.
two girls, one of them's a robot girl.
Well, yeah. Two girls, one of them's like a weird AI robot. So,
I feel like
presenting, I guess.
Yeah,
but...
two photographers fall in love over sharing their, like,
yeah, I did notice, like, it doesn't seem like Indira has a lot of friends or like close personal connections. So she may have just like projected a lot onto her like first close friend in like 20 years or something.
But also Fawn. I mean, I have
Who
no
knows about
idea.
Fawn?
I have no idea what these characters' lives are like.
I don't know enough about AI in this world to say like, oh, this is like a real AI. It can make choices, or like, why'd you program the robot to feel that way?
Interesting. These are interesting reactions
Okay,
to this.
but we should talk
It's
about
like, okay, there's
Jake,
no. Well,
we should talk about what we like first.
there is one part I liked about this, which was the second dream sequence, where like Indira's prosthetic eye starts leaking this black goo.
Yeah. I kind of assumed that was like oil or something.
Yeah.
Like machine oil.
Yeah, oil, black goo, whatever.
Okay, so
Yeah,
you
it's
like
like-
the sequence.
Mm-hmm.
Like for once, it's like, oh wow, I think I get what this book is trying to tell me in this sequence. It's like, this is effective, and like I get it. Too bad that was the last time it showed up in the book.
Too bad this is the last time I felt like I understood it. Personally, I mean, I liked Fawn's parents. I like the framing of Fawn in general. I find it interesting. Interesting setup, at least, premise. You know, like she says, this is my first body, and I chose it because it feels like me, but it's not going to be my last body. I mean, so I think there's a little bit more there to where she's talking about, I mean, she could technically live forever, right? But also the idea that you're always changing, you know. This is what I feel like it fits me now, but I will not be the same person later.
Mm-hmm.
So you're also never the same. But yeah, just in general, like her much more robotic looking parents, and they talk about they used to work, or they might still work as like interviewing people who come to the country.
Mm.
So they had like a job and a purpose as robots previously.
Right. Yeah. And now they're functionally retired.
Yeah. And how they're having trouble connecting with Fawn as their child. I mean, you know, you see like the one time she like interacts with other robots who are more robotic looking like her parents, they call her like a rich kid, and like, you know, you think you're so special or whatever just because you look like that. I mean, it's like interesting stuff, but it's like just a moment there. I think also Indria's whole thing is interesting when she explains it. I wouldn't say it comes through in how her character acts. Like, we don't really get to explore it too much. But what she does explain, you know, like the idea of being someone who suffered at the hands of AI or just, you know, robotics technology in general. And then kind of being dependent on it afterwards, which is why I really thought they were going to reveal, like, my full body is, like, robotic or whatever.
Oh, like the eye was the only human part left?
Yeah, well, just the idea, like, in general, the idea that, you know, it took so much from me and now I'm dependent on it, you know? So, like, the book had a lot of different parts where I was, like, thinking of really cool things that are separate from the book.
Yeah, for me, I just kind of, you know, like at first I was, you know, it was a little bit, you know, shaky as far as like, you know, the initial like, where are we and what are the characters, you know, but overall, like I kind of enjoyed the character interactions between Fawn and Indira, and even, you know, the other characters, Paloma and Fawn's parents, and, you know, I felt like they all felt, you know, well written.
I think they stayed true to themselves, what was established. Like,
Yeah.
unfortunately, I don't feel like that was a ton beyond,
Yeah,
like...
there wasn't a lot that was, like, well established. I mean, Fawn's mom likes to garden.
Mm-hmm.
Paloma used to be an artist, but is now like a curator.
She doesn't even get that many scenes.
It's like two, I think.
Yeah.
And then Indira's parents died.
Her eye hurts.
Yeah. Well,
And her eye hurts, that's right.
Indira is also, you know, she's a loner. She is often, as the gift of the cactus, prickly. And, you know, kind of like generally like distrustful, but also like a generally good person. You know, I guess we don't really get a lot of sense of her values, so maybe that's...
Well, we don't know. She could be a bad tipper. We don't know. Like, we barely know anything about this character. I think that's the part that, like, prickles me the most, is that, like, there are so few characters, but we know so little about them.
Well, that's why I was like, it seems very simple, straightforward. Like, Fawn is naive, and she continues to act naive and nice for the majority of it. Like, even when she's like, I want to destroy her emotionally, and then, like, Indria's like, meet me in Soho, and Fawn's like, okay! Like, I was like, you don't even have, like, why... And then when she gets there, she's like, you didn't even tell me why. It's like, you didn't ask, right? But yeah, no, I liked Indria and her parent. Or not Indria and her parents. Her parents are dead. I liked Fawn and her parents. I liked those.
Yeah, I'll concede that.
It's, as usual, like a double-edged sword. They're simple. They do not really act out of character because there's not a ton of character.
Yeah, I guess I'd say that there's a lot of expectation to fill in the blanks, you know, based on like you said, just simple character archetype kind of.
I think it was really interesting that one sequence where Indria, you know, talks about is in the hospital. Like, so as you can see here in the book, you know, it's that it doesn't even show her face as she's like talking about this, her big secret, how her parents died, and like this, you know, sucky past, and, you know, flipping it, it's black page next to pretty much the same panel with a little bit of her hands changing.
Yeah.
I thought that was a really nice sequence, you know, because her, you know, she kind of wants to hide her face almost, you know, probably trying to be very straightforward about it, not
Yeah.
trying to show too much emotion, just to get the idea across of what she's been through.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it also gives like an energy of like uncomfortableness too. It's like, you know, both of them are just kind of like looking down, you know, like if this is Fawn's POV, you know. And like, I mean, I guess obviously like next panel she's looking all the way down at her own hands, but you know, you can kind of imagine they're not looking straight at each other. They're just, you know, talking and listening respectively.
So yeah, I think there's a lot of interesting sequences like that where they have a moment to be kind of just sitting instead of constantly talking. You know, there's a lot of comics where it's just like panel after panel of how are you doing? I'm doing good. Instead of like taking in like how they're feeling.
Yeah.
Just them moving without speaking. So I think that goes into a little bit more of the art, I guess, but I think the sequencing at times hit a really nice point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of like establishing shots and a lot of reaction shots of just like what people are feeling based on their face.
So I guess the majority of the book is really about like literally character reactions.
Yeah.
So it makes sense. Yeah, I don't think I can say too much more about it. I tried to keep it pretty general to group all together.
Yeah. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that hasn't been covered. I think that I'm going to side on... I generally thought it was interesting, the black pages with just text that kind of did world building.
Is that world building? Isn't that just literally stuff that is on our world?
I don't know. It seemed like some of it was...
Global pandemic.
Well, yeah, but I guess this is before that happened, right?
Yes, okay. Like, while I was reading it, I think I liked it. I was like, oh, wow, these are, like, really interesting. I wonder, like, what they're going to do with them, because it's talking about how, like, you know, AI isn't perfect, and it's fallible, and it still has, you know, prejudices, just like humans. They're like, man, what's this going to mean for the rest of the story? And what it means is literally nothing.
Okay, but these are actually real things that have happened.
Have all of them?
I'm pretty sure, like,
Oh.
they're all real stuff. But that's the thing. I was like, what does this have to do with the story? I mean, okay, so to be fair, the back of it says, in a near future, augmentation and AI change everything and nothing. And I was like, yeah, a lot on the nothing part. Okay, I guess I'll say, I think I had one more thing I wanted to say about it that I liked. I guess the framing of it being photography. I think, okay, going along with, you know, they're both photographers. You know, Fawn takes pictures with her eye, which at times can be kind of awkward because, as she says, people think I'm just staring really hard at them. Versus Indria, who has, you know, obviously the kind of typical outside of her body camera. She's just taking pictures with the camera, despite the fact that she has a fake eye.
Yeah.
Well, maybe they just didn't spring for the camera inside.
What does her robot eye do other than see?
Nothing.
What a boring eye.
What does your eye do other than see? What do you mean?
I didn't pay for an expensive robot eye. She paid for an expensive apartment, but not a robot eye that can take pictures.
She likes the camera.
It connects her with her mom because she got it from her mom.
I already forgot that. Okay. No, but yeah, the photography in general, like, obviously they're kind of trying to make Indria and Fawn to be like opposites of each other, right? Like, in terms of like worlds, like Fawn is very close to her parents but has trouble still connecting with them. Indria doesn't have her parents and thus has a very hard time connecting with them, but still tries to maintain, a connection via her camera and such things.
Yeah. She still does like a little I'm forgetting the word now, but a ritual.
Well, she's trying to keep close to her like religion that she got from her parents.
Right.
Even I think it's referring in that section where she goes, even though I'm not sure how to do this, like I'm not very good at this.
Yeah.
Like she doesn't have anybody to guide her with it. With Fawn, I think we talked about how it was. I feel like this is what they wanted to do, but they didn't quite show it properly. I feel that, like you were saying, Indri is a loner. She's always alone. She's hard to get, she's prickly. I think Fawn is supposed to be the opposite of that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we do not get to see her interact with humans for the most part, other than fighting with Indria at the time, and she spends most of her, like, beginning scenes. Well, she's literally just talking about Indria, right? Talks about Indria, complains about Indria's work, complains to Indria about not telling her that was her work, and then fights with Indria because they're doing a freelance fashion shoot, and Indria just made her come along even though it's not even her job.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, Fawn's entire life revolves around Indria, let's be real.
Yeah.
We don't really get to see any scenes where she's not talking about main character. I think that's why we don't really get a sense for who she is before she met Indria, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man. Okay, well, I guess we should get into the things we don't like. But yeah, the photography was an interesting frame. Obviously, how do you see yourself in the world? How do other people see you? Photography. There's something there.
Yeah.
Jake, you're so quiet.
I don't know. That's the best kind of theme where you can be like, well, there's something there. I'm sure that's what the author intended.
Yeah.
The author finished the script.
Stuff we didn't like. I already talked kind of about like the headline stuff. I don't really like. Like I think it's supposed to be ripped from the headlines. So like I understand that. But then like it's the other part of it's like none of it actually means anything for the story.
Well, we never get to see it in play.
Like the prejudices that is present in AI, and it's not like.
Are we gonna see Fawn be like racist? Like, what is this gonna be?
Yeah, it's like we meet the one robo bigot who like talks down to Fawn for having like a more human body than the other AI, but that's literally the only time anybody comments on. I guess not the only time, but it's like the other times are Fawn's parents and Fawn talking about why she got the body that she did.
We don't get to see them interact with the world. Yeah. The world is
like,
not present, really.
So it's like, okay, then why are we talking about why all these like AIs that are apparently all around are like profiling people, and there's like a high risk like list that has been made by an AI somewhere that's like we never see. It's like what are we doing here? What does this have to do with the story that you're telling?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I guess like I agree with you that like it's not quite or not even not quite. It doesn't really say anything about the story except for I think that it's supposed to add in a little bit more to identifying with Indria's distrust of AI.
But she just doesn't talk to anybody nicely. Like it's not because Fawn. That's the thing. They also had like the whole like Fawn not liking Indria's first show and being like it's objectifying, and we never get Indria's being like explanation for why she even took those photos. Is she have an interest in AI?
Mm-hmm.
Did she just think their bodies looked cool? Like what was the point of that show? I would like to know more about how the main character, which everything revolves around and nobody will stop talking about, what's actually going on there, other than my parents are dead. Sucks.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And
Like, what is her actual conflict, other than my eye hurts?
yeah.
I mean, you could say it's, she's learning to like reach out and connect with somebody else. But like I feel like that only happens because Fawn like doesn't understand boundaries.
Well, like,
She just like
I think
sits
that's
and
okay.
watches Indira like as she's passed out in her apartment and waits till she wakes up. Like that's weird.
Okay, but that is a statement on Fawn, possibly. I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt there. That is like, sometimes, a character will not open up unless you have someone hounding them 24/7. But when they open up, I would like to know more about them rather than just those like 3 facts we have about Indria. Eye hurts, parents dead, kind of maybe
Is a photographer.
AI bad? Question mark? Maybe? We'll never know what Indria thinks.
I mean, yeah.
Indria isn't
It's-
like, I didn't trust you at first, Fawn, but now, like, we don't even get her, like, doing some monologue about that.
Now that you've spent enough time to get your social link to a certain level, now you get my tragic backstory. But so the lack of explanation for like AI does kind of lead me into the second thing I didn't like, or like less that I didn't like, more of like a critique of the book overall. It's like, why are there AI in this book? Like, there is no problem that is like AI specific that says like Fawn has to be a robot AI.
Wait, are you saying that they should all be humans and Fawn, like, stepped in the way of their car and, like, killed Indria's parents?
Like, it could just be that.
It literally could.
Like, there's no reason that it has to be
In
like
fact, that would be more compelling, right?
a near future like AI story. Like, there's nothing, like, it doesn't add anything.
God, I think if Fawn killed Indria's parents by accident, that would be much more compelling than, like, a blonde
It's
girl.
like, yeah,
did.
you have to forgive the person who, like, in that version of the story, probably, like, definitely accidentally, hit your parents' car or something. Like, that would be way more compelling than, like, I kind of don't like AI because an AI somewhere made a decision I can't understand. Even though I probably can't understand now. I couldn't
feel like
understand then, I can't understand it now. Like, it doesn't matter.
I feel like I'm almost connecting what they're trying to say for a moment there, where it's like, oh, Indria's whole show about robots that look like robots, and she's just taking pictures of them, versus Fawn, who does not look like a robot. Hard to categorize. It's the unknown. I'm scared of it.
Yeah.
There's something they're trying to say. I think that goes back to, again, like, the setup cannot pay off because there is kind of no setup, really. Even the romance, like, that's a problem. I went into this knowing it was a romance. Did you, Cody?
No, but I kind of like, I got inklings. Like, I mean, it's a
Okay,
soft pink cover,
Wait, really? You were like, pink.
I mean, I wasn't like, oh, it's definitely got to be a romance, but I was like, with that plus like elements of the story, I was like, is this gonna be like this? And then I was like, as it went on, I was like, yeah, probably. And that was the end of
Oh
story.
man, they hate each other.
I
But
kept
now they're
waiting
gonna.
for it to be like way more romantic, and then and then it's like, man, maybe the romance is overblown until I got to the last page, and I'm like, oh wow, so like, I guess it's a romance.
I thought, yeah, I was like, wow, they're pretty good friends now. Oh.
Yeah, like you can definitely read this if you don't read the very last page, just as like, wow, India learned to reach out and form connections with others,
Who happens
and
to
so
be a
did
robot.
Fawn, I guess.
Okay, so we'll look a little bit more at the back to see what we were supposed to understand from it.
Okay.
So, I mean, they use that big quote, the idea of you is intimidating. Does the unknown intimidate you? Which I don't even remember which character said. It's Fawn and Indria, obviously, but I don't remember which of them said to which.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the first one is Indria, and that's Fawn is the second one.
Okay.
Because that's the one I was
think
talking
so.
about earlier.
Yeah, that I think I remember that. See, it could be switched. And I would also be like, yeah, probably. Okay, so we said in the near future, augmentation and AI change everything and nothing. Indira is a human who has to be cybernetically augmented after a tragic accident. Does she, though? You could wear an eye patch. That's all I'm saying. You could be super cool and wear an eye patch.
Also does really, like, reveal the tragic backstory way before it should be.
Though she struggles with pain and the strange nightmares haunting her, she lives a mostly normal life, interning and showing her work at a local gallery. Fawn is a human presenting AI who has to grapple with both her family's expectations and how the world perceives AI. Though she works at the gallery with Indira, neither girl knows much about the other's photography. But after a huge public blowout, Indira tells her to shut up.
Yeah.
Like in front of customers. That was it. Okay, their mentor gives them the ultimatum: work together on a project or leave her gallery forever. Grudgingly, the two begin to collaborate, and slowly their rivalry turns into a friendship and then into something more. And as Indri and Fawn learn to navigate each other and the world around them, they find a connection they could have never expected. Do they, though?
I was going to say, that last part, like, definitely doesn't happen.
Okay, but yeah, that's the thing. We can see, like, what they were trying to do. And, like, that's a pretty solid back page explanation, right? Of what we should have read.
Well, I honestly felt like it was like mistaking a pitch for a summary. Because I'm like, so much of that is revealed in the story later. I'm like, that should really be structured a little bit differently to still leave something. But that also kind of leads me to believe that I feel like a lot of this is kind of dependent on people or an audience who knows exactly what they want and are looking for, and doesn't really want, like...
It's almost like... It's almost like a fan fiction.
Yeah, it's kind of like that a little bit.
Where you're supposed to know the characters already, but then see them, like, meet each other through another way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And
the reason why I say that is because I'm pretty sure, I'm not going to say who, but one of the people on this tends to work in fan fiction a lot.
I could see that.
Yeah, and so I'm like, oh, that makes sense.
Well, I thought you were going to say this is like a work that is like legally distinct fan fiction.
Oh, I have no idea. Maybe it is. That's the thing. I'm like, maybe it is, but I don't know what it would be.
Because there are some authors who have done that and made your fan fiction and then make a legally distinct version of that.
Oh, are you talking
story.
about every single young adult novel in the last, like, 5 years?
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
But it's,
That makes so much sense, actually, Cody. What you're saying.
Yeah. It's like, you're supposed to read the back of the book, immediately understand whether it's for you or not for you, and, like, just, like, kind of fill in the blanks.
So they're trying to do enemies to lovers. Ooh.
But it's like, it's barely enemies. Like,
That's
they have
the thing.
Yeah. They're
very minor public
Verbal.
spat because Indira does actually fall asleep at the desk while she's supposed to be, like,
She yells,
helping run
"Shut up," at her.
Fawn's show.
Yeah. It's rivalry to lovers.
But that's the thing. They make it, like, they're barely friends, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I guess I can see how they're friends. But I cannot see how they're, like, lovers or how they were ever enemies/rivals.
Yeah, it does feel like this is almost like a second volume. Like, we need, like, a little bit more pretense and then a little bit more after, too.
But that's the thing. It also feels like, what is it? Fan fiction you can do in, like, a different setting or whatever. Like, is it the joke? It's always coffee shop.
Right.
But, like, this is gallery intern.
Yeah.
But also robots. But that's the thing. It seems almost kind of disinterested in the robot aspect, like you were saying, Jake. Doesn't really use it.
Yeah.
Also, why is her robot eye giving her, like, ghostly apparitions? I want to know about that more than anything. I don't care about your dumb photography show. Show me the monsters.
Yeah. I mean, it does remind me of Barbarous, too, in that way, where it's like, you know, there is, like, this other stuff going on, but they're not really engaging with it totally. Because was the amount of story that we read of Barbarous more than we read of this? Because it feels like it maybe.
Yes. Okay, so how many chapters would this be? I don't know.
Yeah.
How many
I
pages
mean,
is
it's
this?
pretty short. It's only like 180 pages.
Yeah.
It's really short. It's literally 170 pages. That's it.
Oh.
Yeah.
So
I mean, like,
170 pages.
It's probably only like 160 of like actual stuff happening because there are a lot of pages that are like. And to be fair, it is the story about an art gallery, so you have to show the art. But then there's also like, it's mostly just a stylistic choice. I don't like the black pages in between when Indira's talk is like. I feel like you could have framed that differently and like gotten the same effect and not just like maybe it's just because I read it digitally, but it's like read 2 speech bubbles,
Okay.
swipe big black page, swipe 2 speech bubbles, swipe
So,
big black page.
They
It's like, what are we doing
obviously
here?
they obviously thought about it in print because obviously it's literally black page next to page of thing. You flip it so you're not having to look at the back and have 2 things happening next to each other because it's supposed to be so solitary.
Yeah. I will say it
I
does
get it.
look better in the book.
But also they should have just edited that for digital. Like why did they keep the black pages?
So put that in there.
Yeah.
Okay, but Barbarous was about 30-ish pages per chapter, so 170 divided by 30. Actually, this might be more than Barbarous. But Barbarous, we agreed, has a lot faster of a pace where they're constantly talking and they're constantly being kind of entertaining with each other.
Mm-hmm.
So have we found the antithesis of that? We're not trying to be entertaining. Like I said, I like the moments that feel like they get a chance to breathe. But the moments where they're trying to actually reveal stuff doesn't really happen that much.
Yeah.
It's like, that's the thing. If you read the back, you already know this stuff. So even when they're like, and my parents died, I'm like, yeah. Okay.
It's like, okay, and
Do you want a medal?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think just the payoff is really poor. Like, what does
Oh,
even
yeah,
get solved about her eye? Like,
it does not earn like a single part of its like resolution.
Yeah.
okay, what happens with her eye? She goes to the hospital, right? And
I guess she
they
just gets
put her-
back on her old prescription.
Yeah.
I guess
they
we'll
put her
never
on
know.
Essentially morphine without saying morphine.
But yeah, but what happens when she gets out? Because she's not going to
Right.
be there forever, right?
Yeah.
So did they fix her medication?
Well, no, because they haven't taken a picture of her eye yet for the gallery after that scene, right?
No, I mean the hospital themselves.
Well, no, I know what you're saying, but like she doesn't get better. Like,
Okay, that's true. She
Yeah.
has the whole karaoke eye
uh-huh.
hurt scene.
Yeah.
So it's not even solved.
Yeah.
I mean, it's chronic pain. It's not going to be solved, but like
Mhm.
it'd be kind of cool if they came together to have some sort of solution.
Right.
Oh, whenever Fawn talks to me, I'm distracted enough from my pain. Like, give me something.
Yeah, just make up a reason. It doesn't even have to be a good reason.
Yeah.
I guess you just gotta kiss, and it'll all be better, and the book will end.
Yeah. I mean,
It's like,
is there more?
I don't think so. I think it's literally
Okay.
a standalone too.
Oh, that actually really changes my perception of it. I thought that.
Wow, then it literally is just find somebody to kiss and all your problems will be solved because that's what will end the book.
They don't even like. They just take pictures of Indira. Like, I don't even feel like they come together on like like some sort of understanding of the photography of like their different styles. Force Fawn to
Yeah, I
take pictures
mean-
of robots. I don't know, man.
Yeah, I mean, I can't really argue with that. Like there are some parts of the book where it's like they're like the author is kind of being like purposefully obtuse about like what the characters actually mean.
Mm-hmm.
Like when they're talking about like there's that part where they're looking at that dress and Indira's like talking to Fawn and being like, "Oh, you're kind of, self-conscious about your image." I forget, like, I think she says she's vain,
You're vain, but in a good way.
and it's like, and then like we see like Fawn reflecting in and seeing herself in the dress. It's like, man, that's I can tell it's supposed to mean something.
Well, I think that
And
whole part was like,
maybe I'm dumb, but I don't get it. But I know it's supposed to be saying something.
well, that's the thing. I do feel like the book has a lot of things it says, but they never come together or like are continued on elsewhere. So it feels like moment here, moment there of different things. Like that part is with the Rococo dress, and I think Indira is like, oh, that like dress is so flashy, like I could never, but you probably could. And Fawn's like, me? And she's like, yeah, you're like vain in a good way. You deserve to show off, I think, is what she says. And like Fawn's like, yeah, I do. Which I think is supposed to be kind of this thing of like, oh man, society is so hard on Fawn. She deserves to like
Is it
let
though?
loose. But we never see her get like, a robot's like, you suck. And she's like, oh man.
Yeah.
I knew there'd be people like you out here who'd say a mean thing to me.
It's like I want to like figure out what that means about the world that like a robot is talking down to another robot about the robot's body.
I think that's interesting, but it's never explored.
Yeah.
But we don't get anything. Like is that like is it supposed to be saying like, oh, it's a this robot is a human invention?
Well, that's the
and people
thing.
always have like human flaws, but then like
I felt.
are we going to talk about like what does it mean to be an AI because you don't decide what you are?
I mean, it's about how people see you, right? Like we would have had a scene if it made sense where people are treating Fawn better than her parents because she looks more human, right?
Mhm.
The privilege of being able to choose how you look and be rewarded for that. Like be rich enough to look a certain way, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if I want somebody to be mean to Fawn's parents though. For singular mom.
It's too bad. It's better for the story.
Yeah,
It doesn't
no.
even have to be Fawn's parents. It could just be a different like AI that just has a robot body.
Okay, that's the thing.
If we could
Indira, no, actually, Fawn is the one who says, with the dress scene, my parents are small, invisible, overlooked. They don't get seen unless someone wants something from them. So
It's
I'm
like people. Like people don't see people unless they want something from them. What do you want, an award?
Are you saying we should remove all the robots theming from this book and just make it about people?
The robot's out and make it about people and it'd be a better story.
But it's a metaphor about actual people, Jake. We
Yeah.
can't say it about people because we already know that, so we have to say it through robots. But not actually, not show it, just say it. Because it's literally, she just says it and we don't even get to, like, see if that's true or if she's just a bad narrator.
Yeah, I think I wouldn't like the robots and AI removed from the story. I think that there is something that could be done that's interesting and fun, just in general having fun with the story, fun to read,
This feels like a pilot, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it definitely does like really turn down my initial like interest about it. The fact that one, it was published in 2021. Like I was thinking like as recent as 2019, like 2018, 2019.
Oh, that was like the upper limit.
Yeah. But like, yeah, it doesn't feel as near future, I guess. But the other important part, because these two, together are what I don't like, is that there isn't like any talk of a continuation.
Okay, to be fair, I don't know for sure,
no,
but I'm
I-
pretty sure it's a one-shot.
Yeah,
Okay,
I
you
looked it up. Yeah, I mean, granted, maybe the creators are just hard at work, but
They're busy with Barbarous.
yeah.
That actually does remind me like the timeline of this. Like there is one of those headlines talks about the first like AI landscape like being sold for like $500,000,
AI portrait.
while
yeah.
currently like AI art is being used to like make a Seinfeld version of like some
Well,
other TV show. Like it's not nobody's buying AI art. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
well, not right now. They're just
Not yet,
paying for
I
the service
guess.
to generate tons and tons of AI art.
Mhm.
Don't do that.
Yeah.
Don't do that, folks.
Yeah, don't do that. I mean, I guess some people are paying for it. I've talked to a friend who knows somebody who is generating AI art and selling it.
Well, I mean, people who are paying to use the service so they can generate AI art.
Right,
I don't
right.
need artists anymore. I can generate my AI art.
Right.
I don't care that it's trained on stolen images
Yeah.
from people who never consented. But but that's the thing. Like, when was this written? Then it has to get illustrated. Then it had to get published, and like COVID might have like got in the way of that.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it's hard. It's hard. AI like this, like, if you try to be too specific with the actual technology, like those headlines, it's going to date it, of course. That's why I got to be even more vague.
Yeah.
Are we convincing them to be more vague? No, don't do that either.
I don't know if you could be more vague in the story.
Well, the headlines, I'm saying, date it.
Yeah.
Don't put the headlines in. I know I'm saying
Exact
take
same.
a lot out of the story, but like, and it's not often I would say less story would be good, but like, don't put the headlines in.
So
It doesn't
you-
add anything.
So you're saying this should be a 20-page story?
I think if you really knuckle down, there are only 20 pages in the story.
Actually, yeah, I kind of agree with that.
I would say 30.
Yeah, I was about to say 20 to 40, so,
If you change the sequences and left less room to breathe, yeah.
Yeah.
There is probably actually too much breathing room in this, actually. Like, I do like the breathing room, but I sure would like something else, too.
Yeah.
If all you have is breathing room, is it even breathing room anymore?
Just allowed to breathe. I think they should remove all text bubbles and let me just make up the text for myself.
You know, there's enough, like, there is some element of like physical storytelling in this where we see like the spacing of the characters kind of gets closer and closer to each other, so you can sort of imply that like they are getting more personable with each other, even if
Yeah.
there were no text bubbles. So maybe, you know what, get rid of the letters, no speech bubbles,
Get rid of the text. No dialogue.
make the characters mimes. I don't like.
We're being so mean to this book.
Yeah.
I didn't like this book, I'll be honest.
All right. I was fine with it.
It wasn't good, but it also didn't offend me, I would say. I was just more of disappointed.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I was just reading it kind of with the brain shut off, like.
So it was perfect for that.
Yeah. I was like, yeah, this is perfectly enjoyable, and I was like not really thinking as critically as I could about it, but I think that like I recognized that that's what it was going for too.
That's the thing. We've read their writing,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like, is this partially the fault of like what's visually shown? It's hard to decide. No. In the end, there's no actual like events, like we said. There's no events that like mean anything or challenge them that much. These characters get to exist in a pretty easy life. Like, Fawn is supposed to be privileged, but I don't think Indira is like struggling out there. She literally has like I thought she was gonna have like a really bad apartment and be like, yeah, I am barely surviving despite all the settlement money that goes to my like health bills. No, she's doing fine. She could like quit this unpaid intern job and she'd be fine. There's no actual stakes of like getting this done properly.
Mm-hmm.
Like, even the back
Yeah, it's
says
for like art school credit, I think.
Yeah.
well, that's the thing. Even the back says, like, the gallery owner will never let them show in this gallery again. She doesn't say that. She's like, yeah, just quit your intern job or do this. And they're
Yeah.
like, I guess we have to. Even though they admit that they don't have to.
Yeah.
They're both extremely privileged. Okay, that is like a huge problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, robotics discussion and philosophy between two very privileged rich people.
Yeah.
And they never get to experience anything else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, Fawn, like, she, it kind of, at least for her, it seems like she puts on the appearance of being privileged. I guess that's kind of like another way that they're like, you know, like contradictory characters, you know, because like, in Indira, she like, kind of looks rougher and like she's not as like well off.
She does wear a fur coat at one point.
Okay, yeah, but
I mean, I think it's just flashy. It's
yeah,
supposed to be.
but she does have money. Meanwhile, Fawn looks very advanced and like she would have money because of her body, but she isn't. Her parents saved up a lot of money, so she would look that way. But generally, she lives just kind of a more standard.
Yeah, she doesn't have a smart apartment.
Yeah.
They don't have smart stuff. It's like a pretty regular house. And I think even that part where they're like shown to be in the living room, I think that's supposed to be them sleeping.
Mm-hmm.
So I would love some sort of statement on that. Oh, this place is small. Like my parents, they don't have much room to do the things they love, like planting. No, they have plenty of room. There's no problem.
Yeah, it is true. It's all like at this point in time, like, you know, like that their house might have seemed like very normal. And it's like now home ownership is difficult, especially a home that big.
But that's the thing. Like, so I just want her to be like, yeah, the home is small and show a small house.
Mm-hmm.
Like a little crummy shack, a little crummy suburban house. And her be like, but you know, since we're robots, most people assume we don't really need that much room. You know, even though deep down, I want my mom to have more room for like her plants. What are their goals?
Yeah.
Oh my God, what are their goals? I just realized they don't have goals in their life.
No.
This really is a fan fiction for something that I don't know.
Or just written in the style of fan fiction, at least. Yeah.
What are their goals?
It feel like somebody took all like the side filler from a different story and made that the story. Like all the stuff that would be kind of like strung along and like this is like the last like 10 issues you get at like the back of a different story.
The little
like
side stories.
Yeah, like, you know, the main story propels along and this is like a nice kind of, you know, like an after dinner mint or something. But then like it's the whole book.
Yeah.
And then they kiss.
I get what you're
And
saying.
then they kiss.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess. I do feel like I'm supposed to know more about these characters. Like you said, Cody, like this feels like there was a book before this that I should have like really understood stuff.
Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, even if there was just a chapter where it's like, this is them operating before they've met. We switch back and forth perspective.
I think that's actually an interesting thing to think about because like we always, you know, for a story, it's good to have your character shown before events change them.
Mm-hmm.
Big inciting incident happens so we can see setup and then what the reaction is, how they've changed. Their life is in shambles now. But this is a romance. And so the book seems afraid to show them without when it's not centered around their complete and total interactions with each other.
Yeah.
They're either talking about each other or they're with each other. And like, yeah, we do get a scene of Indira before she like meets Fawn. And she's just hanging out. I don't understand those scenes at all. Like, there's random girls she's staring at. I guess, is she missing companionship? Does she think that girl's hot?
Right,
and then the woman who holds up the, like, thing to her, and she, like, takes a picture. I'm like, what does this mean? I thought one of those girls was going to be Fawn.
Right, yeah. I'm glad you mentioned that, because I was also equally confused by the opening pages. Like, I think that the people that were walking and like the triad that was like,
Yeah.
having fun. They were all three supposed to be AIs because they have the unnatural white skin like Fawn does. But we don't know that yet.
I don't think so because they don't have the little joints.
Oh, you're so right. And they also blush. Never mind.
But I can see what you mean. They're like very white.
Mm-hmm. And then, like, yeah, I understood this person to be a real person, the person with the wine glass, because she has pink tones in her face.
Do I just like... But that's the thing. She holds up the wine glass. Indira takes a picture. Indira's looking at her phone, and Lady's like...
Yeah.
Dismissive? Like, what does it mean? Was she rude?
Yeah.
What was she supposed to do? Like, high five her?
Yeah, like, I mean, maybe, like, it kind of seemed like... I think she was taking candids, and then the subject realized and like started to pose, maybe.
But then I don't understand her reaction afterwards. Yeah.
Yeah, I was very confused by all of that, and then I was also like, is she taking like gallery photos like the day, like the night of the show?
Well, also, so I thought this was also the fact that she doesn't even eat the thing that comes to her. She just like licks the salt off and then like takes her medicine. I thought that was like a hint at her being not human.
Oh, interesting.
Why would she order food then?
To appear human.
To live among the humans, be human, because she used to be human. Just make her a robot. That would be so much more interesting.
So I'm saying take the robots out. You're saying add more robots.
Double down.
Cody, what do you think?
I think I'm somewhere in the middle where I'm like, yeah, I guess double. I don't want Indira to be
I don't
a
want her to
robot.
be AI, but I want her to like, she didn't choose, but she has to use a robot body, versus Fawn, who chose and wants this robot body so badly.
Yeah, okay, I do like that. Yeah, no AI, but yeah, that's fine. But in general, I also just want more like, how does this AI like, how does it affect the world? Like you said earlier.
Yeah, no, there's no effects. Like,
yeah.
But that's the thing.
It
If they made
changes nothing.
Indira a robot and they did the exact same thing, they wouldn't have explored it.
Yeah.
I will say, like, props to this book for making me really, really reminded of how much I love robots in writing because of how much it does not utilize them properly. It is inspiring, though, in how it is not working out.
Yeah.
So we keep seeing these little parts where we're like, this could fit together differently.
It's almost there.
It's not almost there. It needs to be cooked a lot longer. But But the ingredients are there.
Yeah.
Mm.
All right.
But this book infuriated you, huh, Jake?
I did not like this.
It's a horrible reading experience.
And no, 'cause I mean, like, usually talking about a book will make me feel like a little more middling about it. But like, the more we talk about this, the more I'm like, man, I just don't like this. And all the stuff we're talking about that would normally be like, okay, I can kind of see is like, nope, don't like it, don't get it, don't like it.
Okay, well let's talk about the art a little bit first, and then we can finally give our full final feelings. Yeah, I mean, I picked up this book for art, and I found it's really interesting art because, well, whenever I talk about art, I sound so insulting. It's very simple art, and it's done in such a way where I'm like, oh, this is quick, this is easy, this would be a really efficient way of getting a book done. Like,
yeah.
but that's how I feel about it. That's how I picked it up.
No.
But at the same time, it's pleasing. It's an efficient way that looks pleasing.
Right.
Because there's other books we've read, which I will not name, but other people in this show liked, and I was like, this looks really quick and efficient and ugly.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so this one I felt like started to move in the other direction. I will say it's a little too simple and clean, isn't it? Like, the fact that they have another person who's flatting, so this means one person was drawing it, one person was flatting, and one person was coloring. So That's interesting.
Yeah. So what is the process of flattening? I think we've gone over it before, but I forgot.
It's literally just doing the colors.
Oh, okay.
Like before you add in like shadow and start doing like the mood of the tone, you're like, okay, her skin is this color. Every single page, you're doing that part of her skin. You're coloring that. You're putting that base color in.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
Color before shading.
Yeah, pretty much before you start to do effects and such. So yeah, this was really streamlined.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that there's panels where there's like a lot of like different uses of color on like the background and such.
Mm-hmm.
But most of the time it feels almost too simple. It feels a little bit like it's unpolished in such a way where I'm like, it's a little too flat. Just sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that.
I almost wonder if like even adding like a basic texture layer would have helped.
Yeah.
It's like,
Definitely. Like, yeah, it is kind of like it uses a lot of color that I would assume would be for showcasing like emotion, like, subjective color, but yeah, I don't get the feeling of that subjective color very well. And then there's a lack of objective color.
yeah. I think
And kind of extending color to also texture and such.
Yeah, the color choices were really interesting. I can see what you mean. It kind of goes line in hand with what the rest of the book was like, right? Like you're saying you get the feeling that they were trying to make you feel an emotion here with a color, but you didn't. You were just like, cool colors.
Yeah.
Pretty much same. And that's also how the rest of the book is.
Mm-hmm.
I get the feeling they were trying to make me feel something with this line.
Yeah.
Don't feel it, but cool.
Yeah, and also, similarly, we don't get a lot of objective, like, facts about the characters or the world either. And so,
But yeah, some of the backgrounds are really cool. Like the museum, I was like, oh, I think it was literally this panel where they're sitting at the museum, and that sold me on like I need to see what the rest of the art is like.
yeah,
But most of the art is not
not
that
like that.
detailed. So I do think that they could have kept the characters pretty simple if they had like, but they need something to compensate for that, right? Instead of most of the time everything is pretty simple. That's the thing. It's not simple though. Like putting in all those extra color lines is a choice and it looks very nice. But it just, there's just something there. Like even this, it's just like half the time when they're talking, it's just like a gradient in the background.
Yeah.
It's just too simple.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that honestly does kind of kill me because it's like, why? Like
They do some really nice backgrounds.
Uh-huh.
I just wonder, like, not enough time? Is it too distracting? There's got to be some sort of way you can balance it out.
Yeah.
It is cool to see in print, though. I still like the book enough, like, art-wise, to keep it. I think non-objective color like that is very hard to make work. Even if I do think you're kind of right. They probably should have had an objective layer and then placed the non-objective one over the top and, like,
Yeah.
gotten closer. Because, that's the whole thing again, where you're, like, looking at those characters and you're like, well, they're really pale, so they're robots, right? Question mark. And I was like, the one girl's blonde. Is that Fawn? Because I will say they have very non-distinct faces. It's not same face exactly.
Mm-hmm.
There's just not enough detail to tell,
Right.
like, who is who for the most part. I mean, that's the thing. We don't get that many characters. But if somebody else showed up who looked like this, I wouldn't know instantly that that's Fawn.
Yeah. And, like, I mean, also, Paloma kind of looks like Indira.
Yes. I mean, they try to dress her up a little differently.
Mm-hmm.
But there's just not that distinctive enough
Yeah.
faces. I mean, it's a style. It's a very manga style.
Yeah. I kind of noticed that, too. Like, I mean, Fawn looks very, like, I don't know, a million other anime girls I've seen before.
Do you mean every American girl in an anime?
Right, yeah.
She is the like blonde walks in. Hello everybody, I'm from America. I'm very privileged and rich. Man. I like even Indira. I mean, she's Indian American, right? They use a really odd kind of desaturated tone for her skin.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a choice because a lot of things are desaturated, and then a lot of times the light is very saturated, so the backgrounds end up saturated. I don't like when they use like desaturated tones for skin.
Yeah.
They look dead.
Yeah, they kind of do. Yeah.
They could have played. Yeah, if they made her skin saturated, and then of course Fawn is supposed to be opposite, so she's desaturated, very pale, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. There's a lot more they could have done with it.
Yeah.
I will say they have some really pretty panels,
Mm-hmm.
but a lot of it ends up feeling a little too flat.
Yeah.
Also,
You go ahead.
I was gonna say, I can't tell when it's a dream or not, and I think I'm supposed to. There should be probably more signs.
Mm-hmm.
Because even that part where she's like, this is just a dream, when like Fawn is like really close to Indira, like they're gonna like cuddle or something, I was like, is that a dream? Because like Fawn's in the next scene, right? She's
Right.
watching
That's
her
right.
sleep.
Yeah, I remember also wondering that and then realizing basically, oh, they are apart, so therefore, But
Was that earlier?
no.
Okay, that's the thing. I don't get that.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's very hard. There wasn't that much of a switch between dream, and I know it's supposed to be a little bit confusing, but I kind of feel like we as an audience should know
Yeah.
versus even if the character doesn't know.
Yeah.
I don't know, texture, something.
Mm-hmm. Or even they're pretty a big fan of like effect layers, so it's like put on like a haze, something like that.
How about you, Jake?
I liked the use of color. I didn't mind that it being kind of super clean. Because I felt like it being like, unless maybe in the dreams it could have been a little rougher and like gotten rid of the kind of clean feeling. But like for the rest of the story, if there was like stuff that felt rough, it would have really kind of stood out and probably not in a good way. It wouldn't have felt like it really fit the rest of the story. I don't know.
I don't know so much rough. I think, like I said, they have panels, like when they're in the Met Museum or whatever, where there's like a ton of little details of, even, it's just not even lines, sometimes it's color in the background. You're like showcasing like the like pillars and like the different things that are behind on the wall, but it's not too much detail that like you're looking at it. So like just some more visual interest, I think, like that could have helped more panels, even though, technically they're supposed to be, it's about them talking. So
Right. Yeah, I guess something that I just realized is like, we were talking earlier about like, subtracting all of the dialogue. What if we subtracted the color from this? Like it was just purely black and white? Like, just inks. It would be really weird. Like I don't
different.
Yeah, I don't think much of this would make sense, actually.
that's funny because I think actually the person who drew this, they have another comic, Knights Errant, and they do that entirely in black and white and grayscale. And I think it's a really interesting one because it's clean cut, most of the time it's shadows and then like a little bit of grayscale. But
Yeah, maybe if for some of the stuff that would be colored, it got to be grayscaled, I could see that actually, but
also theirs is a fantasy comic where everybody is like wearing armor and other stuff to really
Right.
distinct themselves. This is, modern day life.
yeah,
You can just like change into a dress later
yeah.
and then you'll be unrecognizable to me, I guess. Yeah, I mean, if they had added other characters, I suspect I would have started confusing them for each other.
Mm-hmm.
But there are no other characters. What did you think of the beginning scene we were talking about, Jake?
Definitely going back through, like I did confuse, like I thought maybe one of the characters was Fawn. And I'm like, hold on, is that Fawn? Is this supposed to be like an extra depth to the story? And I'm like, no, that's not Fawn. There's no depth. I'm like, okay, cool, great.
Cool. So are we
But
saying the
there
opening
was a
added
second
nothing?
that I was like, oh, but what if though? Maybe on a second read through, I'll be like, oh, there's all this depth that I missed the first time. No,
Okay, I guess we're past the art now. We are talking about whether we would read more. I mean, you said it, Cody, right? Like, you thought that this was maybe there was going to be continued, and so you were like, okay, well, there's more room for growth.
Yeah. Like, I just assumed, like, yeah, this is a really slow burn. And so, like, they're just really, and I'm like, that's a choice, you know? But if this is supposed to be, like, one and done, which, like, I mean, oftentimes, like, no matter what, even if we know there's a, you know, further volumes, like, you know, we judge it based on what it is. But, you know, I was willing to give it a little bit of slack of being like, okay, well, you know, I want to see, like, now they have to say, okay, we had this kiss, you know, like, what does that mean? Are we dating? Are we, you know, is this just a fling or?
Is this against the law because robots?
Right, yeah, all of that stuff. That, like, a whole can of questions opens up.
Nah, it's fine. It's fine, you guys. They kissed. Happy ending. Unlocked.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's because there's so many parts of the book that remain unanswered and unexplored where it's like, yeah, okay, there could be more. If there was more, I definitely want to read more from the artist and the writer, but not this story.
yeah, the artist, I'll say, yeah, I'd read more stuff arted by the. I will say, if we read this before we read Barbarous, I'd have different feelings about Barbarous going in.
Has this soured your view of Barbarous or improved it?
I think this is better. I think this is worse than Barbarous. Barbarous
Okay.
is better.
Because it's going to continue forever.
Either because it will continue or like they learn, it's like, hey, if we're going to put something in the story that is weird, like magic, we should like explain it.
Continue.
And they did that in Barbarous.
Did they though?
Sometimes
Did
a
they,
little
though?
bit. They actually, yeah.
What does the string mean? Why did they put all the string together? Doesn't mean
I don't know.
anything.
It's what you need to do magic. I don't know. This isn't about Barbarous.
Yeah. I mean, I will say, yeah, we talked a little bit in that episode about, like, you know, it being kind of like threading the line between soft magic and hard magic.
Also, slice
system.
of life and then
Mhm.
actual plot driven, like,
Right.
and it became very plot driven after like 3 chapters.
Something like that, yeah. But yeah, so this, like, very much has soft sci-fi. It's like,
I mean, they were so straight up on the back of the book, huh? It changes everything and nothing.
yeah.
A little bit more of the everything, please.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was disappointing, but yeah. Maybe I'm just held together enough by art. Not to read more of this. I don't care about these characters.
No.
Yeah.
This just, like I said, this just makes me want to go read a good sci-fi story.
Yeah. I mean,
I mean, compared to,
This is barely a sci-fi story, though.
yeah.
okay, what's that other one we read? Ava?
Oh, Alex and Ada.
Alex and Ada.
Yeah,
Yes.
I did think about that book when I was reading this one. I was like, is this better? Kind of, but like for different reasons.
It's less offensive because it is much more bland in comparison.
There's also less of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
To be fair.
We had to read a lot more of Alex and Ada.
True.
I mean, but Alex and Ada was like funny to me and how bad it was. We were joking that like his grandma, it should come out that Alex is a robot that his grandma bought. I'm just saying more robots improves everything, right? Like makes things more complicated.
You know, I haven't thought about it like that. Maybe I'll start thinking about stuff like that. It's like, would this story be improved if there were like 20% more robots?
I feel like there's a genre of that already. It's not Transformers.
It's not Transformers.
I don't know. There's a lot of robots out there. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not ruined for this like artist slash or these writers, but man, it's kind of bland meal.
It definitely doesn't change my opinions on like romance as a genre. Like all this story has for it is that it is a romance.
It doesn't even have that much of that.
And it's barely romance.
Yeah.
But
Well-
like if you take romance out, what does this have?
It has.
Doesn't have robots.
Yeah, it has somebody suffering with chronic pain and somebody kind of suffering with connecting to their robot parents ish.
Never addressed though. Like,
Yeah,
she doesn't
yeah.
confront them. They don't. She doesn't have to like. She's just like this.
Yeah,
kinda
I'm not
sucks.
saying it's a lot. I'm not saying that there's much there. I'm just saying.
It really
So,
is
yeah.
the bare ingredients put on a plate for me, and they're like, now imagine this is a bread.
Yeah. Still tastes.
So I mean, yeah,
of flour.
definitely it confirms my feelings about like romance being your primary genre. But like I'm not gonna like it because every time you read primarily romance, I don't like it.
Now, Jake,
Challenge.
are you sure it's not because it's a robot human romance?
I am not a robot human bigum or bigot. Yeah, no, it's not. That's not what I'm getting out of this.
I wasn't saying you're wrong. I was just saying, like, you recognize the trend in that people do not understand what's interesting about robots and humans interacting.
I don't care that like, yeah, like their love isn't true because one of them is a robot. Like that's not what I'm getting at.
Okay. They just suck anyway.
It's just bad.
Yeah, okay. I had to think of other romances we read, but it was the Always Never, the one with the backwards narrative.
Oh my god. What we read that other one too, like
5,000
5,000
kilometers a
yes.
second.
Yeah.
That one. That was also that one was also ugh.
I almost don't
Those
think
still
that
work
one
great,
counts
but
as
at
a
least those
romance.
had like
It
interesting
literally was a
framing.
romance though. It literally was him being like it also was like almost backwards kind of thing.
Yes.
Remember?
Yes, yeah, they were strangely similar in a strangely similar way that these are. This one is similar to Alex and Ada, but not.
But yeah, those had like interesting framing and like their stories told in an interesting way.
Mm-hmm.
About
And
romance.
like I guess you can say they were trying to do a similar thing with like, oh, but there are robots involved. But like
I mean
just because there are robots involved doesn't make it more interesting. At least not to me.
I think romance stories can be interesting, but also they kind of need more than just romance.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's a baseline, right? The characters need to have character before the romance can be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, commonly, there's romantic comedies, or you have like romantic action adventure, you don't usually have just romance, but like romance is still the first part of the genre title, so it's capital to it.
That is funny to think. It's never just a romance movie. It's like historical romance or something like that. Yeah, huh.
Yeah.
There's something there.
Yeah.
That is the theme of today. There's something there. So, would you still read more stuff from this writers?
Yeah, I mean I still have the feelings that I did about Barbarous. Those were kind of interesting. I didn't read anything else that was on the website, so I can't really say I'd read anything like that, but
Yeah.
it didn't poison me on the entire creative team. I guess
Okay,
it wasn't
yeah.
that bad.
Yeah, I would say that it wasn't bad. And honestly, like, it was only after kind of discussing it that I was kind of like, oh, yeah, that is
I
a
ate
problem.
nothing. I had a meal of air.
Yeah. Air and unprocessed flour.
Hasn't been cooked.
Yeah, I also and as far as like if a volume 2 existed, I would at least be interested in looking it up and seeing like are they going to answer any like questions that are actually interesting?
Man.
Are they going to turn
I might
this
give
ship
it,
around?
like a Wikipedia skim if there was a second volume
Yeah.
out.
The base level of acknowledgement. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's not poisoned. It's just, and like we said before, there are ideas that could be interesting. They just don't do much with them.
I would like to see what else they write,
Hmm.
if they can manage to do something with it.
Yeah. Right.
I still like this book enough to keep it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't expect you to like throw it away or burn it if you didn't like it. I
I don't
I
have
still
room
own
for
books
books.
I don't like.
Jake, that makes no sense to me. There's no room on a bookshelf for a book I do not have any that does not have redeeming qualities of like anything. You know.
I've hardly ever gotten rid of anything in my life.
People have too much room in your life.
I mean, I don't have enough room. I just don't get rid of. It's
I
Yeah,
mean,
I'm with
I don't
Cody
get
on this
rid-
one. Like I've barely gotten rid of most of my books.
Okay, to be fair, all my books are downstairs. They're not in my room now. See, so I'm not getting rid of them. I just
Yeah.
don't want to look at them ever again.
yeah, fair. So you're the one that has space, really.
There is no
Yeah, I don't have
space.
enough room to have like this is the area for books I didn't like, and this is the room for books that I did like.
Just donate the books you don't like. This is a plea to me. Okay.
All right, yeah. All right. Thank you all for listening to the comic panel. I'm Cody,
I'm Jacob.
And I'm Shawinta.
and we'll see you next time. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening. If you like this episode, be sure to subscribe to this channel as it helps us out on the YouTube algorithms and getting us seen by more and more people. You can also reach out to us with any thoughts you have on the things we talk about on Twitter at TheComicPanel1 and on Instagram and Facebook at TheComicPanel. Also, if you want to leave a comment, please do. Let us continue the conversation.